2023 has undeniably been an amazing year for video game releases, definitely up there as one of the best of all time. So many incredible gaming experiences have released this year that narrowing down 6 to be nominated for Game of the Year seems insufficient. However, the reason I stress that this year is incredible for gaming releases is because while the games we've been playing have been better than ever, the people who make them have been struggling. At the time of writing this video, there have been an estimated 8,000 layoffs across the gaming industry since the start of 2023. The start of the year saw layoffs at major companies, with Unity letting go of 284 employees on January 17th, followed 2 days later by 10,000 layoffs across all of Microsoft. While the majority of these were not gaming related, Xbox Game Studios 343 Industries dismissed 95 employees as a result, and the Coalition and Bethesda games were also affected. The most annoying part about these layoffs are that they came at a time where Microsoft was preparing to acquire Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion US. Now, I'm no economics expert, but I feel that if you have to lay off 10,000 people, you probably shouldn't be trying to buy another company with 17,000 employees of its own. On February 28th, EA laid off the entire quality assurance team at its Baton Rouge testing facility, roughly 200 employees. Several of the QA testers later alleged that this firing was in retaliation for them working to organize a union. While there has been no official confirmation to my knowledge that this was the case, it doesn't help that in their most recent annual proxy filing, EA states, "In the US, there has been an increase in prominence in certain sectors of workers exercising their right to form or join a union. If significant employee populations were to unionize, we could experience operational changes that may materially impact our business." As part of a larger series of layoffs by Amazon, Twitch reduced the size of its workforce by over 400 employees on March 20th. On March 30th, EA laid off approximately 6% of its staff, with CEO Andrew Wilson saying in the announcement that, quote, "EA was operating from a position of strength," and that, quote, "business is gaining momentum." I find these to be weird statements to be making in the same breath as one where you announce that around 775 people are going to be losing their jobs. April saw Amazon Game Studios lose 100 employees, and May saw Unity's second round of layoffs, with a staggering 8% of its workforce, around 600 employees, being cut. At the end of August, Volition Games, the studio behind Saints Row and Red Faction, was completely shuttered after 30 years by its parent company Embracer Group, which laid off a total of 904 employees in its subsidiaries between June and September. Epic Games laid off 830 employees in September, and in October, Bungie laid off around 100 members of its staff, followed in November by 135 at Ubisoft, 180 more at Amazon Games, and as I was writing this, ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, is supposedly cutting around 700 employees from its gaming subsidiary Nuverse. I don't want to just spend this video listing layoffs that happened this year, as we'd be here for a while, so I'm going to link a website, videogamelayoffs.com, in the description that has been keeping track of these events. I want to instead spend the remainder of this time looking at some of the reasons why these mass layoffs are happening in the first place. In 2020 and 2021, due to world events that I do not need to get into, everyone was stuck at home. This led to a gaming industry boom as people used video games to connect with one another and escape the harsh realities of the world. According to data from G2A, a digital gaming marketplace, there was a 155% increase in searches on their website during the early months of 2020, and a report from Streamlabs showed a 78.5% increase in content viewership across various game streaming platforms in 2020 over the previous year, for a total of 27.9 billion hours watched. US consumers spent $56.1 billion on video games in 2020, and $60.4 billion in 2021. This led to an all-time high for video game investment in 2022. However, once people were able to leave their homes and restrictions began to ease up, spending on video games dropped, totaling $56.6 billion in 2022. Now that the industry was stabilizing again after the pandemic, investments are slowing down, and as a result, companies are working with tighter budgets and reducing their staff. The Embracer Group is a perfect example of this. Over the past 3 years, they've acquired almost 70 different companies in a spending spree, including big studios like Saber Interactive, Gearbox, Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and parts of the Lord of the Rings franchise. In May, a $2 billion deal with the Saudi-funded Savvy Games fell through, causing Embracer to go into cost-cutting mode. At the time of writing this, by my best calculations, they have laid off almost 1,070 people since the deal collapsed. I hate so much that the decisions of a few people at the very top cause issues that the people at the bottom have to bear the consequences for. Both in 2011 and 2014, Satoru Iwata and other Nintendo executives took up to 50% pay cuts when the company was not performing well, so that they wouldn't have to send home employees. In his memo about the layoffs at Epic Games in September, CEO Tim Sweeney said, "For a while now, we've been spending way more money than we earn. I had long been optimistic that we could power through the transition without layoffs, but in retrospect I see that this was unrealistic." While I appreciate him admitting fault and that Epic committed to 6 months of severance and healthcare for their employees, I really doubt that Tim Sweeney or any of the other higher-ups will be taking a pay cut for their miscalculations. I'd be happy to be proven wrong. While the future of the gaming industry is uncertain right now, it's not all bad news. In February, Nintendo raised the salaries of its Japanese employees by 10%, and in July, Sega granted a 30% pay rise for its existing employees. Last month, Atlus announced that they would be raising the average annual salary of their employees by 15% because they've seen an increase in profits. Once again, I'm no economics expert, but I think that's probably how it should be. If a company does better, then its employees should see some form of benefit from that. This is very encouraging to see, and I hope more companies follow suit. Workers are also taking matters into their own hands. On January 3rd, around 300 quality assurance workers at ZeniMax Media, the parent company of Bethesda, voted to join a union, and Microsoft recognized it, with ZeniMax Workers Union becoming the largest video game union in North America. In July, Sega of America workers voted to form the Allied Employees Guild Improving Sega, the largest multi-department video game union in the United States. And more recently, in October, over 100 developers at Avalanche Studios, the developers of Just Cause, voted to join the Swedish trade union Unionen. By collective action, these developers will hopefully be able to have more bargaining power, and while unions can't completely prevent layoffs, they can give the workers more power to fight for fair treatment. You might remember that earlier this year, Epic Games' wrestling battle royale Rumbleverse was shut down. I had tried out a few matches when it originally released, but from watching videos online after it went offline, I really wish I'd given it more of a try because it looked really fun once you went deeper into it. Well, in a recent article from Stephen Totillo at Axios, he interviewed the co-CEO of the developer Iron Galaxy, and she spoke on the fact that despite the cancelling of Rumbleverse, their studio actually added 30 employees this year and had 0 layoffs. The article was a really good read, and I'll leave it linked in the description. Despite the incredible gaming experiences that were released in 2023, the video game industry has been plagued by layoffs, highlighting the disconnect between the success of the industry and the treatment of its workers. While some companies have taken steps to improve employee compensation and working conditions, many others have prioritized cost-cutting measures over the well-being of their workforce. And more needs to be done to ensure that the people who make our favorite games are treated fairly. So while you're watching the Game Awards next week, celebrating the amazing games that released this year and getting excited for the games to come in 2024 and beyond, don't forget the talented and passionate developers who put their hearts and souls into crafting these experiences for us to enjoy, and how the companies that employ them choose to reward their dedication. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I know this is a bit of a heavier topic, but with all the discourse going on online about the Game Awards and how incredible the games have been this year, I wanted to make a video to remind folks about the people behind the games they love. It's coming down to the end of the year, and while I already have a long list of games from this year to catch up on, let me know in the comments one game you think I shouldn't miss before this year is out, or at least one that I should add to my ever-growing backlog. Thanks again for watching, and have an incredible day.